Welcome back everyone. Time to do another comparison between the newly released OnePlus 8T on my right and the a little bit over a year old OnePlus 7 Pro on my left. Now, every time I see this phone, it's like a legendary experience because this phone just meant so much to me last year. I don't know why. The OnePlus 8T is basically the successor of this phone in a way. We didn't get a OnePlus 8T Pro this year, but still totally okay. I don't really care that much to be honest. Now, pricing wise, the OnePlus 8T cost me about $799 to pick up, which I'm totally okay with. It's a good priced phone. The OnePlus 7 Pro you can pick up for like around $350 in a lot of different places. This phone does not cost, an insane amount anymore. And it's pretty crazy because I think this is an insanely great priced phone right now. The OnePlus 8T is kind of more what it's kind of expected. But I'll definitely say there's a lot of pros and cons for both these devices for sure. Now, starting off, and like I said, if you want to pick either of these ones up for the cheapest prices that I find on Amazon, I'll link them down below and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the front of the OnePlus 7 Pro, this thing had a 6.67-inch fluid AMOLED display and it was 1440p, and I think this was one of the first 1440p panels that OnePlus made, and it's a really good looking panel, I think. You have very little bezel around the whole entire display of this device. It's kind of a thick phone, but that's regardless. It's a curved display too, which the OnePlus 8T doesn't really have. It's like a flat display as far as I know. It's a little bit curved on the side, but the OnePlus 7 Pro has no camera hole. Basically, it has a pop-up camera that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, and that is something that kind of became a gimmick. It made this phone super popular at the time, and I think it's a really cool thing for sure. The front panel of the OnePlus 7 Pro has definitely held up, and it has a 90 Hz refresh rate display as well, which is something that's really, really awesome, and definitely the OnePlus 7 Pro's panel is one of its highlights for sure. Where the OnePlus 8T, on the other hand, has a 6.55-inch Fluid AMOLED display, so a little bit smaller technically in dimension than the OnePlus 7 Pro, but still a good-looking display for sure. Now, it also has, a higher refresh rate, but this one is 120 Hz, so higher than the OnePlus 7 Pro. And like I said before, that is a huge asset when you have something like this and that just keeps getting better and better. I mean, are we going to have like 3000 Hz screen sometime? I mean, I don't know, but definitely when it comes down to it, both panels will look really good. They perform really well, and I'll probably say the OnePlus 7 Pro looks kind of cooler, but when you actually use them day by day, I think the OnePlus 8T is probably more practical just because of the lack of camera hole and camera module having to pop up in and out all the time. So that probably kind of covers up the front. You can kind of see that the OnePlus 7 Pro is a little bit bigger than the OnePlus 8T, but also in the hand, you can kind of see you can just feel how much thicker the OnePlus 7 Pro is than the OnePlus 8T in my opinion. Now on the bottom, both of them have USB Type-C ports, which is kind of a guarantee. And on the back, we have kind of different glass backs for sure. The OnePlus 8T has a frosted glass back, which I really like. The OnePlus 7 Pro has that standard glass back that I'm pretty sure everyone has already seen on any phone that has ever had a glass back. I like the frosted glass back now. It makes it feel that much more premium and that much more nicer. I like it on my 11 Pro, my iPhone 11 Pro, and my Note 20 Ultra as well. But the 7 Pro is more what is expected. I think people already know how this is, so it's kind of a given of what those are going to be. So in terms of the outside, when it comes down to it, I definitely would say the OnePlus 7 Pro looks kind of cooler, but the OnePlus 8T is the cooler phone. It feels more premium. It looks kind of better a little bit sometimes. The hole punch display, though, or the lack of hole punch display on the OnePlus 7 Pro makes it look that much cooler in my opinion. So in terms of the outside, that pretty much covers it up. Software-wise, this is a super easy one. The OnePlus 8T is going to be lasting longer than the OnePlus 7 Pro. It's going to be getting better updates, faster updates too. So both of them are still going to be lasting for a little bit of time. The OnePlus 7 Pro will last 1 year less in terms of software updates than the OnePlus 8T, but I still think that's totally okay. I think both phones are going to be lasting for a very long time. Whether you get the OnePlus 8T right now or you get the 7 Pro, they're both going to be lasting for quite a bit of time too. So in terms of software, that pretty much covers it up. Now let's go ahead and do a little bit of a speed comparison between them. Now the OnePlus 7 Pro has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and a 6 gigs of RAM on that base model, 8 gigs of RAM on that mid-tier model, and 12 gigs of RAM on that top-tier model. This model has 6 gigs of RAM, where the OnePlus 8T on the other hand has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, octa-core CPU, and 8 gigs of RAM on the base model and 12 gigs of RAM on the top-tier model. This model has 8 gigs, so let's go and see how much faster the OnePlus 8T or 7 Pro is compared to one another. Okay, now that we're back, let me go ahead and clear out all the apps in the background. I don't know what the OnePlus 7 Pro is doing right now. And anytime it's super close to a phone, it never registers touches. Okay, there we go. Let me go and close all apps. Let me make sure it did it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And I mean, definitely would say maybe the OnePlus 8T was faster. There were a lot more pop-ups here. You can do Play Store, 3, 2, 1. And anytime it's super close to a phone, it never registers touches. Okay, there we go. Let me go and close all apps. Let me make sure it did it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And definitely would say maybe the OnePlus 8T was faster. There were a lot more pop-ups here. You can do Play Store, 3, 2, 1. and both were kind of close. Maybe the OnePlus 8T was slightly slower than the OnePlus 7 Pro there, but definitely scrolling through, you can see how much smoother the OnePlus 8T is over the OnePlus 7 Pro. I don't know why the 7 Pro is glitching up that much. I don't know what is going on with that phone. It is so much smoother than the OnePlus 8T. It's not even comparable. It's crazy. Now I have a bunch of these third-party apps that we can go and get into. Let's do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And even just the animations and everything just seems so much smoother on the OnePlus 8T. You can see the 7 Pro is definitely taking its time, still downloading this thing. I think it still has a load after. Okay, so I mean, look at this. This is a pretty big difference between these two. Visually, they don't look like that much of a different type of device, but internally, there are some pretty big differences. And as you can see, the 7 Pro just exit out of that app, which was very weird. I don't know why that happened. You can do Snake First Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And even clicking on it just seemed to pop up this game so much faster on the AT. And we eventually got into it, but the AT was faster there. Gaming wise, you can see, if there's a difference at all. I don't really think there's going to be that big of a difference, but I could totally be wrong here. I've been wrong before. They looked about the same there. We can do stack, 3, 2, 1. And I do have to download this thing, but it's very annoying. I mean, we'll probably let that one breathe. It was kind of, there's just so many random pop-ups, and this is why I literally hate doing speed comparisons sometimes. We can do Paper IO 2, 3, 2, 1, and watch us get another little pop-up here. And actually, the OnePlus 8T was just a little bit faster this time around. Let's get into the actual game and see if there's a difference. And I'm kind of looking at it at an angle, so keep that in mind. And I'll let you guys kind of be the judge. Does one seem faster? Does one seem slower? Let me know in the comment section below, or just like hold on like 2 seconds. I can probably say that they both look more or less the same when it comes down to this specific game. Netflix 3, 2, 1. AT is faster. 7 Pro a little bit slower. Okay, we eventually get into it. No problem there. Snapchat 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same. 7 Pro is definitely slower there. Facebook 3, 2, 1. And again, AT is faster. 7 Pro slightly behind. Instagram 3, 2, 1. AT is faster. 7 Pro slow behind again. We can try to go end it off with Real Racing 3, 3, 2, 1. There could be a chance where the 7 Pro has to download it again or something like that. And you can already see that the 7 Pro is, noticeably behind. And of course, we have to download it, so we're just not even going to do that one. And we can try doing things like Quizlet 3, 2, 1. I think it was like even there slightly faster on the OnePlus 8T. And honestly, to kind of sum up this comparison, I mean, I can probably tell you that when it came down to it, the OnePlus 8T is going to be the faster device for sure. I think you're going to be getting a faster performing device. And also, in some cases, you could probably actually get a better RAM management device from the OnePlus 8T from a OnePlus 7 Pro. I pretty much saw that every single time, I was getting a better performance pretty much on the OnePlus 8T. Maybe there was like one or twice that the OnePlus 8T was better. And you can see even with Temple Run 2, the OnePlus 7 Pro had to restart it where the OnePlus 8T was able to keep that in the background. So to kind of sum up it, I mean, I'll probably say the OnePlus 8T is noticeably faster than the OnePlus 7 Pro. RAM management is going to be better on the 8T as well. So that pretty much covers it up there. Let's go and hit on the cameras. Now on the back, we have the quadruple camera setup on the OnePlus 8T. We have a 48 megapixel wide angle lens, 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor, 5 megapixel macro lens, and then a 2 megapixel depth lens. Where the OnePlus 7 Pro has a 48 megapixel wide angle lens, 8 megapixel telephoto lens, then a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Now, the OnePlus 7 Pro's camera, in my opinion, has always been pretty good for the most part. It's definitely not been the best camera in the world. It's not even like the best of that year, but I'll say it's good enough for the most part. You have a telephoto lens and an ultra-wide sensor, which is something the OnePlus 8T doesn't have. It doesn't have a telephoto lens. I would rather have a telephoto lens than like the macro and depth lens, in my opinion, but I still think this lens is pretty good. I mean, you can zoom in a lot. You can zoom out through the ultra-wide sensor as well, and I think that's something that's very important. UI-wise and the way they look, I mean, they're both going to be looking about the same. I mean, the same megapixel count. Technology may be better on the OnePlus 8T, but really when it comes down to it, I think you're going to be getting kind of around the same type of thing. And I think the lack of telephoto lens that the OnePlus 8T has really weirds me out. I don't know why they did that. They could have easily just added a telephoto lens in this specific phone and just kind of moved on with it. But they did the same thing with the OnePlus 8 as well. They have it on the OnePlus 8 Pro, but they don't have it on this device. So maybe they were trying to make more of a discrepancy. But the OnePlus 7T also had a telephoto lens, so I honestly don't know what they're thinking. You can do 4K at 60 on this phone as well, and you have that same 16 megapixel camera up front that the OnePlus 8T also has, which I don't know why they're still doing that. The OnePlus 8T, as expected, is probably going to be the better camera, like I've stated before. I mean, you're getting a better lens, I guess, and the photo actually does kind of look a little bit better from the OnePlus 8T. The software is going to be better on this device as well. You're probably going to get more features here and there, but you're still tapped out of 4K at 60. You don't have that telephoto lens like you have on the 7 Pro, and you on the same front camera, you have 16 megapixel front-facing camera that can only do 1080p at 30 frames per second, which is kind of annoying. I really wish that wasn't the case, but we really don't have a choice when it comes down to it. So probably when it comes down to the camera, the OnePlus 8T is probably better, but the 7 Pro is not that far behind in my opinion. And if you have a 7 Pro, I'd probably recommend keeping it because you have the telephoto lens on here. So in terms of the camera, that pretty much covers it up. Now ending it off with the battery life, the OnePlus 8T has a 4,500 mAh battery, the OnePlus 7 Pro has a 4,000 mAh battery, and definitely when it comes down to it, I think the OnePlus 8T has a better battery life for sure. You have a bigger battery size, you have a lower resolution display. Even though you have that 120 Hz, that doesn't necessarily mean it's, automatically so much worse or anything like that. I think the OnePlus 8T's battery life is probably better at the end of the day, but the OnePlus 7 Pro's battery life, from what I've heard, is actually pretty decent still. And I don't think, like I said before, if you have a 7 Pro going to an 8T, you're not gonna miss out on too much, but also vice versa in my opinion. So to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you pick up the OnePlus 7 Pro? Should you pick up the OnePlus 8T? Should you upgrade from the 7 Pro to the 8T? Let me go tell you some pros and cons for the OnePlus 7 Pro first. This phone, in my opinion, is still a great phone. There's still a lot of assets for this device. It kind of hiccups sometimes in performance. I don't know why it was being so weird today, but you still have a pretty decent performing phone. It's very smooth. You have that 90 Hz refresh rate, a beautiful looking display, beautiful looking phone overall, tremendous build quality, great software, pretty good camera, maybe even a better one than the OnePlus 8T in some occasions. And just an overall good looking phone. There's not a lot to hate about the OnePlus 7 Pro. I think a lot of people love this phone. It was a huge deal last year, and I still think it's pretty relevant in 2020 for sure. And even compared to the OnePlus 8T, there's still a lot of assets for sure. But I think if you have all the money in the world, getting the OnePlus 8T is a tremendous thing you can do. You're getting a great camera, I think a better camera than the OnePlus 8T. You're getting better battery life. You're getting a great screen with a higher refresh rate, which to some people may be important, and I think for me it would probably be important. You're getting a longer software life cycle on the OnePlus 8T, an extra year of software updates. And I don't really like the motorized camera on the OnePlus 7 Pro, so that would probably be one reason why I would automatically go to the 8T. But I still don't think that if you have a 7 Pro, if you made it last this long, going to the 8T is probably an okay thing. But I would still say if you have a 7 Pro, keep it. There's really no reason to hugely go and upgrade to the OnePlus 8T, but I think the 8T is the better phone here for sure. So that really pretty much covers it up. Like I said, if you want to pick these up, links will be down in the description below. But that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.